And we're live. Tom Levecchia here with the latest edition of the Armchair MBA. We have two very special guests. First, the co-host, Jason of JSP Capital, part of the Four Horsemen. Jason, how you doing today?
Very good, Tom. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Gator, pleasure to meet you.
Hey, man.
And our first official recurring guest, Gator McCluskey, did a great review on the Many Saints of Newark. He's got a great movie review channel. We're going to put a link below. I'm going to ask you guys to subscribe. He's a self-admitted Burt Reynolds fan, which makes him even cooler. Gator McCluskey, welcome to the Armchair MBA. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Tom, for having me on. And it's great to be back. Had great feedback from the last one, so I'm hoping we can have some fun with this one.
And be fair, we were going to do recorded and edited, but Jason said we had to do it live, and Jason's much bigger than me. All right, so here's the agenda for the show. Just like any good meeting, any good MBA would say, here's the agenda for the show. Gator's going to kind of give his background and his critical review of Godfather 1. You guys are welcome to interact. And Gator's pretty cool. I could put like comments on the screen, which you'll see, and you're welcome to correspond with that. So it's live interaction. But also what we're going to do is I'm going to give some business parables related to the Godfather. So Gator, take it away.
Well, what more can you say, man? The Godfather Part 1. I rewatched it again last night for probably the 20th, 30th, 50th time. I mean, who can keep track? There's probably no film I've seen more than The Godfather. It's there's so much you can talk about. I mean, directed by Francis Ford Coppola from the Mario Puzo 1969 novel of the same name.
Yep. With
Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan, Robert Duvall. I mean, this is almost a perfect film. And as the years have gone on, I've looked at a few things in it and wondered what some decisions that were made and how they were made. And one in particular was when Sonny fights with Carlo out in the street. Yeah. And there's a classic missed punch that just drives me crazy. I hate to start with negatives, but like this film is so perfect. And you just had to see Coppola, with his editor at some point sitting in the room saying, what do we do? He missed by a mile. Hold on.
I want to give some context, right? So for those people, hey, Brooklyn guy, for those people that didn't see Gator's Many Saints of Newark, is a very good critical eye and he's a smart guy. What I love about him too, he's also from the New York area, from Rockland County. So I'm assuming you're not Italian, correct?
I am Italian, yeah.
Oh, you are Italian. Even better.
Yeah.
I knew I know what your name wasn't like it, but all right, so you're Italian.
It's a dirty little secret, that I keep, but yeah.
Love it. Well, Jason wears it proud on his car and his hat is everywhere he goes. So at any rate, with that being said, as an Italian grew up in New York, where were you the first time you saw it, and what was your impression?
Well, my father would have it on, all the time. And if I ever walked in the room, he'd say, son, sit down. You got to watch this. Now, I'm one of three sons. And he used to always sort of like make comparisons, who was Michael, who was Fredo, who was, of course, I was not Fredo, by the way.
Thank God, I was going to say.
Yeah, make that very clear. My father's name was Michael. And, his three sons were basically, he'd always try to make comparisons, in his life. Everything was always compared to, what it's like to be in a family and how important it is to be loyal and all these things. We were brought up with these, basically how I was brought up, was a lot of it was a script written from a lot of The Godfather. Not the murder and mischief, of course.
Yeah. Well, so hold on. So quick funny story. Supposedly my brother either got like arrested or picked up by the cops. He got one phone call, called my father and said, "Hey, Dad, I'm in jail. You got to pick me up." He's like, "The Godfather's on. Click." He also wasn't a good father too, but that's a whole nother discussion. All right. So with that being said, okay, so you have a certain attachment to the film then. You know, granted, your father liked it, you liked it, you're an Italian guy from New York, family values. So you had a certain sentimentality towards it. Has that sentimentality grown over the years or lessened over the years as you watched it?
That's a good question. I mean, subconscious things stick with me, you know.
Yeah.
Loyalty is the big one, you know. I mean, you know, some of the quotes in the movie, you know, don't ever take sides against anyone, you know, against the family again, you know, quotes like that just kind of, you know, stick with you through the years, and you know, you try to instill certain things in your kids, and you know, in the hopes that they, you know, that you're always going to be this tight unit, and nobody's ever going to be that Fredo, right? That you know, that that doesn't support, you know, what your unit is doing. So I think that's the main thing that has stuck with me through the years, you know. And of course, you know, you try to do the Sunday dinners as best you can, and you know, get together for holidays and big family get-togethers and this and that. And so much of that is on display, you know, in the Godfather series.
Agreed. Now, I want to get my first business lesson from this. And I looked at multiple sources. I have my own opinion. But one of the things that made Don Corleone strong and why Sollozzo wanted to get together with him is, number one, in life and in business, you need to build the right relationships. In his cases, it was with politicians, it was with judges, and that was a source of power. Same thing with us. And I want to appeal to anybody who's an entrepreneur, who's an intrapreneur, like you're at a job, may not own the company, but you own your career. So at the end of the day, you know, Don Corleone, although he wasn't formally educated, he had his strength in relationships. So to me, rule number one is have the right network and have the right relationships. Okay, so next part. So give us kind of like the overarching, give us something in your opinion that you think can offer our group. And our group is pretty astute in terms of mob stuff. Give us something that you can offer maybe that people didn't think of or looked at differently in terms of G1.
Well, I mean, I ask a lot of questions, as you know, as I see it time and time again, you know, and as you get older, certain things jump out at you. You know, I always found it interesting that Vito was dead set against getting involved in drugs, and very similar to Tony Soprano, right? So that was his big beef with the other families, it seemed, and you know. It was definitely interesting that was Tony Soprano's, you know, arc in The Sopranos as well. That, you know, that whole thing about not dealing drugs, and that ultimately was the, you know, their downfall as far as all the violence in the first film. So I'm curious about that. Like if that's something that, you know, that they actually did struggle with. They're seeing gambling and whether it's, I don't know, prostitution or whatever other things that they're in, that drugs for a lot of them seem to be a no-no.
All right. So I was thinking, okay, so when I first saw it, obviously I was young, but I saw one and I saw two, you know, right away, right? And we're gonna do a separate one on two. But in terms of one though, like what was, you know, you talk about the arc, and again, we look at like Vito's life, obviously, and kind of where he came from, and then how he kind of persevered in some of the challenges that he had. Like, what was like you know, aside from Vito, or it could be Vito, who did you relate to in it, and why?
I mean, Michael jumps out, of course, you know, because he's the one that changes, you know, and he gets to that point. I hate to bring up Many Saints of Newark again, but again, it's a similar story arc with Tony, in that, you know, he didn't plan on getting into the business, but, you know, and certain people didn't want him to get in the business. And there's a scene with Marlon Brando that, I mean, the guy he's so amazing as an actor. And when, after he gets out of the hospital and he finds out that Michael is the one that killed Sollozzo and McCluskey, the look on his face of just,
oh, wait a second, I never put that together. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot.
Oh, what do you mean?
Gator McCluskey. I had no clue. Is McCluskey?
Oh, no. No, it's actually a character Burt Reynolds played twice.
Okay.
Yeah. And McCluskey spelled differently. It's MC.
Okay.
It's MCC.
I was gonna say I would have known.
And I wouldn't want to be associated with that scumbag cop who was the worst. He, when he punched out.
That's right.
Michael, But yeah, I think that's that struggle of his, and when when Vito actually finds out that it was Michael that made that kill, just how disappointed he was, and you could see the look of horror in his face. He wanted to cry.
Yeah.
I even think a tear might have rolled down his face, but he was devastated to find out that Michael had at that point joined the family. And
sorry. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to jump in. I'll post them for Gator. I just wanted to jump in again to give my second thought of, you kind of talk about Tom Hagen not being a wartime consigliere, or one point Don Corleone himself was a consigliere. The other business lesson is you need two critical people in your life. Number one is a great mentor, right? Somebody you can call up and say, hey, you know what? I'm having some problems. Somebody who kind of been there and done that can help navigate you. Number two, I think in business, and Jason and I always bounce off each other all the time, you need your own consigliere. You need your life for your business and personal, because you just need to be heard. You might just need to talk. You just might need to just, shoot the shit. So again, these are little things that we overlook every day. But if you map out, again, the business parables for Godfather 1, doesn't always match up in our actions. All right. Another thing I like about your reviews, Gator, you tend to be a little bit more academic and a little bit more behind the scenes and really know the nuts and bolts. What was something later on, maybe watching it last night or deep diving? What were a few of the things that you picked up later on about Godfather 1 that you didn't know earlier on? And you're like, holy shit, I didn't know that.
One of the things I did last night is I was really curious about Louis' restaurant. If that still existed. Apparently it was called Old Luna Restaurant. It was on White Plains Road and near Gun Hill Road in the Bronx.
Yes.
And the structure's still there. It's like a fabrics place or something, but it's pretty interesting to check it out, to see what it looks like now. But you would think that should just be a museum where you could go and sit, because that scene is so incredibly iconic. There are some scenes in The Godfather that when they come on, I swear it seems like I'm watching them for the first time. I mean, it's funny. My wife was half asleep when I was watching it last night, and she usually conks out pretty early, and she's wide-eyed in some of those scenes, and that restaurant scene is so intense. And the way that Michael sits there and you just see him think about all he wants to do is go and get that gun. And he doesn't even hesitate. He hates these two guys so much. There's no hesitation. He immediately says, I need to go to the bathroom. There wasn't even much of a conversation, and came back with that gun. He could not wait to pull the trigger. And I'm just mesmerized by that particular scene.
So really quick, guys, I am dropping Gator's link in the chat. So you're welcome to go on. He's at 1,200 subs. Let's get him some more subs because he deserves it. Those people that are watching this on rerun, I'll put a link below. For those that are watching live, it's right there in the chat. Thank you, Andrew. And
appreciate that.
Guys. It's the least we can do. All right. So what lesson in life did you learn from The Godfather that you didn't follow and you later regretted it?
Wow. Oh.
Not an easy question.
Yeah.
While you're thinking, let's ask Jason first.
That's an easy one for me.
What is it?
You let somebody betray you in business or in life, and you let them back in, and then they betray you again.
Good point.
And again, it's happened to me in business, and it's happened to me in real life. Unfortunately, in the civilian world, we don't use the tactics of the underworld. So what we have to do is just walk away from those situations. In the underworld, yeah, there's another story for that person. But yeah, definitely letting somebody betray you more than once.
What do you say, Gator? What say you as you're learning?
I mean, I'd have to go with Sonny's demise. Not thinking before he left the house. He was so anxious to get back at Carlo because Connie had called in distress.
Yes.
And he took off from the house without any protection.
Yeah.
Going into
and it got him killed.
Yeah.
The lesson learned there obviously is, you can't let your emotions get the best of you. You gotta keep yourself together. You can get in a lot of trouble. And Sonny's, cost Sonny his life. And that's another scene I'll tell you with Marlon Brando when he finds out that Sonny was killed. When Tom tells him, Tom seems to be the bearer of bad news. And, talking about business, if you watch that scene, what you see in Marlon Brando is you see a split second of him being a father. And then he immediately turns into business. And he says to Tom, I want you to set up a meeting immediately with the four families. They say five families, but it's four families. That's a mistake. Yeah. Set up a meeting with the five families. I want to end this. I want to, finish this feud, put an end to it because now it's gone too far. And that was a smart thing to do, but of course it doesn't happen.
Well, the other lesson that I wanted to run by everybody also was the art of communicating in a different way. And what I mean by that is obviously the horse head is a little bit extreme, right? But it's always better to communicate without words, through actions in other ways, or maybe influence other people to act in your behalf. That's also in the 48 Laws of Power. And that's one of the things that Don Corleone was excellent with in terms of getting other people to do what he did through other people, but also those kind of subtexts and subtle communications are what I felt made him strong. We got a question from Vinny. Why let Carlo live so long? He could have set up Michael. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the lifestyle that they live, there's a point at which Michael says to Carlo in the very end, he says, do you think I would make my sister a widow? It's one of many lies, of course, that Michael says, but, ultimately he had to make her a widow. When he was in Italy, that's when Carlo did most of his damage, and Michael didn't know about it. It wasn't until he came back and got a good read as to what was going on that Michael really knew that Carlo was responsible for Sonny's death. And took care of it.
Now, don't you think that he might have delayed also because he really didn't know? He wasn't sure. I believe he didn't know until the end. When he said, who was it? I believe it's still up to that point. He had no clue. What do you think?
No, I can agree with that. Like I said, he was sheltered from it. By the time he came back from Italy, Sonny was dead. So it's not like Sonny talked to him at all. He was kind of off the radar, for legal reasons. So it's not like he had any idea as to, what was going on with Connie and Carlo. Now,
what about what do you think of, in terms of Sollozzo and the Godfather, right? Like, remember, so part of being in business is being nimble, kind of being current, etc. Do you think the Corleone should maybe have took the deal, got prosperous, keep the connections to themselves, and maybe go even more powerful? Forget about the moral aspect, because I don't like drugs. I'm assuming you don't like drugs. We don't want to harm people. But just in terms of the context of organized crime and business, do you think Vito Corleone made the mistake of not accepting the deal?
I don't know. It's hard to say because he wasn't thinking, I'm going to lose my son. Yeah. He's if he knew that, if he could go back, I'm sure he would. No father wants to lose their son.
Good point.
But, he was sticking to his beliefs, his morals. I mean, they didn't do a really great job of explaining who the most powerful, family members were. I mean, we assume it was Vito,
Yeah,
with his political contacts, but the other heads of the families, I mean, were they just as strong? I mean, we kind of knew with the Sopranos, we knew that Carmine was a little bit higher than Jersey, as they always make fun of it.
yep.
But we kind of didn't have that full story. And I was actually thinking that it would be an interesting thing for them to do, is to try to cover the time period between. So the film mostly takes place between 1941 and 1960. And then in Godfather 2, there's the flashback that brings back the early Vito from like 1917 to 23. But there's a period of time missing that we didn't get to see, which is kind of like from like 1923 to 1940, where Vito becomes who he is.
Correct.
And that would be a great story to tell, because, who was Luca Brasi, and what were all the things that he did, and, all these different characters. And Tom Hagen, they apparently found him, Sonny found him on the street, brought him in, and he raised him like a son. But of course he wasn't Sicilian, so he couldn't be, a certain level in the family and all this stuff. I find that missing time period in there, that 15 years, would make for an amazing story, if they would ever, take that chance to tell it.
I was just showing Jason on the screen a little bit of like, cause I put some notes and stuff, and I'll ask Jason, then I'll ask you. I love the part when they're sitting around and he's like, well, Don Fanucci's a black hand. We have to do business with them. We got to do all that kind of stuff, right? And he's like, well, he's got guns. We got guns. We got guys. He got guys. Like, why can't we? That was like that moment where they call it the E moment, right? The entrepreneurial moment where boom, it hits you and you get to work, right? Jason, when was the time that maybe you had a pair of balls, you stepped it up? It may have worked out, it may not, but I'm wondering.
As far as where
business, personal, when it was a point where they had guns, you had guns, and you decided to start that business, you decided to go down that venture, you decided to do that trip,
Yeah, that point in my life when I was working on the docks, and of course, typical Italian down on the Jersey docks, working there.
Shocker.
Right, and I got into a friend, and I was making good money, and I decided to jump into the venture that I'm doing, to this day for the last 10 years. Was, listen, I know what I got to do to get it done, and I'm going to go in head first and, take that chance. But I knew what I had, I knew what I could do, and, you grab your and you get started. So
how'd it work out?
And it worked out well. Thank God.
How about yourself, Gator?
I don't know. That's one that's got me kind of lost. Yeah, I'm kind of speechless.
Oh, how about this? You get a little bit of reprieve. Who put the hit on Michael C. after his son's party in the bedroom? Was it Hyman Roth?
Are we talking about Godfather 2 now?
I know it's 2, but might have to jump around a little bit. It's a good viewer, good dude. Who has a question?
Oh, but yeah, Michael. Party in the bedroom.
I thought it was Hyman Roth. No.
I believe so.
It was Hyman Roth by the way of the New York guys, I believe.
Yeah, because isn't that why he went to visit him, to try to feel him out?
Right?
Yep. Some believe it's Patanjali.
Wasn't he working with Hyman? Weren't they in cahoots?
Right. Yeah. It's a similar thing. So, all right, next. So I want to give my next business lesson before we go to the next round of questions is the thing that I always talk about all the time, to the point ad nauseum, and I know Vinny's watching and Vinny will agree. Brooklyn guy, Vinny. Oh, hey, would love to have Scott Bernstein on. Scott Bernstein, Gator, wrote the book Mafia Prince about Philly and Eddie. And then he also wrote another great, which I'm surprised he didn't make a movie out of, to be honest with you. And he also wrote a book about the Detroit mob. He also was co-author from that recent movie, the Detroit. Oh man, that kid. He was on drugs as like a 17-year-old, and then it blew up. What was that? Rick, White Boy Rick. Did you ever see her White Boy Rick?
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's one of the authors of that, so he should be coming on. That'd be cool. You do a White Boy Rick review, and share it with him, and it'd be even funnier if he thought it sucked. No, but all joking aside, so one of the things that that I think people ignore in business, and definitely the current mob definitely ignored, is you always need an exit strategy or a succession plan. And the nice thing about Don Corleone, although he eventually didn't want Michael in the life, and he talked about the tear coming down his eye, he eventually acquiesced and put him in place. And to be honest with you, we could agree or disagree. I felt he was even more efficacious or more effective Don than even Vito Corleone in many ways, because he brought the family to new heights and even legitimacy. So I think succession plan is key, right? So my question is, who do you think was a better Don? I'll ask this guy first. Michael or Vito?
Vito.
Gator?
I mean,
That's a tough one.
I mean,
Michael was a lot more ruthless.
I'm gonna say for financial gain, it would be Michael.
Yeah.
You know, Michael definitely, knew how to get into Vegas and knew, how to repair all the damage that Vito had done. And again, we don't have a lot of the backstory, but it didn't seem like Vito was this extremely wealthy guy. He was well respected.
Yeah.
And people came to him for favors and this and that. But Michael was the one that sort of built an empire and definitely, was able to get the family financially set.
What was your favorite scene in G1?
Oof. It's the restaurant. It's Michael going into the bathroom and pulling the gun and shooting. Let me ask you this, and this is just something I never bothered to research. What's with the dropped gun? What's the story behind the dropped gun?
So if you're a witness, right, and the guy did it during this, there was a mob war in Philly, and it was between essentially this guy John Stanfa and Joey Molino, the old guard or the new guard, and they went after Nicky Scarfo's son, Nicky Scarfo Jr., allegedly on a Halloween night. Allegedly, it was Joey Molino, and he put like 8 shots into him and rolled the gun. The idea of the rolling of the gun is, number one, to have what it's called a suicide mission, which is killing somebody in broad daylight, right? So that's crazy to begin with. And then number two, rolling of the gun is almost like, I don't care. I'm power. I want to get your guys' opinion, but I don't care. And for the viewers as well, I don't care. I'm powerful. This is like mind your own business. Stay out of it. You may have saw my face, but don't worry about it. Like kind of a force du jour, if you will, on that. That was my take of the drop gun. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they in the Godfather, they also taped the gun, but it is a power move. It is the mafia, especially back then. They wanted to show a sign, some kind of sign to the other party, the other family, to let them know this is what we did. Okay, and now what? And so whatever the dropping of a gun, it was a sign to the other parties to say, hey, listen, let's go. We know what you did, and so forth. So yeah, I agree with Tom on that. It is a power move. And it's definitely the ultimate power move as a gangster.
Yeah.
And it is
I've seen it in The Sopranos quite often.
It's like, and you remember in Goodfellas when Robert De Niro says to the truck driver, pulls out the truck driver's license, he says, "You may know my face, but now I know yours." Right? Yeah. It's that ultimate move. Like, listen, you've seen me, but I know you, right? I see you. So it's the same thing. A message. Listen, we know who you are. You know who we are. And this is what we're going to do. So,
yeah. And there's a lot of similarities between like unpacking Godfather. There's always going to be the Machiavellian subtext, and then also Sun Tzu, right? Fight when you're strong, retreat when you're weak, and then more importantly, know your strengths, but also know your weaknesses. So when you know your strengths and you're strong, fight. When you know you're weak in an area, retreat. And I think one of the strengths that I think Don Corleone, and I'm not kind of going against what I said earlier, but I might, where he knew that if he got into drugs, that they might get very rich and powerful with his connections, and then eventually those guns are going to turn on him. So maybe that's part of the reason why he didn't decide to participate because of that. But what do you think, Gator?
Yeah, no, I sort of asked the question because I honestly don't know. Some of the things that happen, throughout the course of the movie, it's become iconic. I even don't understand, Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes, like if there's a history behind that, because that's the only place I know it from.
It's from there. Yeah. It's an old Sicilian message, Tessio, who turned out to be another scumbag. Listen, Father Time is figured an Italian would know. You didn't want to get caught with a murder weapon on your person as well, and no prints.
Mm-hmm.
That seems reasonable. That seems like thank you, Father Time. That seems like reasonable assertion. All right, what's the worst scene aside from the missed punch in Godfather that we just could have did without?
We could have done without?
Yes.
I mean, I find that when Michael goes to Italy, I find that the film slows down a little bit. It's sort of, thankfully they do jump back to the States. But I do find, like, as soon as he goes to Italy, I find that the pacing of the film kind of slows a little bit.
Yeah, that took too long.
Yeah. So for me, that was, and it is a little bit hokey for him to have gone over there and just hook up with this girl who, she was young, and I was looking up the actress, who's still alive. She was like 15, 16 years old at the time. He marries her like so quickly, and of course she gets blown up in the car, but that whole thing was it was a little bit odd. So to me, that would be the only, sequence in the film that I could have done without. I think it needed to be there. He needed to get away, but maybe it just needed to be something a little bit less than what it was.
What about, talk about change, right? And managing change. Change, the only constant in life is change, right? And our lives are always changing, our business is always changing. If we don't evolve, we die, right? So, like with Michael, I believe he kind of moved along with the times, right? He went out to Vegas. He knew that as an opportunity. He saw himself more of a racketeer than a gangster, I believe. And he changed and transformed the Corleone family, again, for being maybe one of the 5 families or one of the 6 families, to like a powerhouse that was running the show. And he did it in a very forceful way, right? So, what do you think about change, right? How do you deal with change as a person, right? Compared to how Michael did?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's forced upon Michael, because he put family first. If he didn't have that inbred in him, he might have taken a different direction. Clearly he didn't want to be part of the family business when he joined the military. He got away. He wanted to make a life for himself.
Yep.
And at some point he came back, and he had a girl and he had a plan. And he says to Kay, that's my family. That's not me.
That's right.
In terms of the Luca Brasi story, make him an offer he can't refuse. Right.
Yep.
And ultimately Michael changes, and he does it because it's just, he put family first, and he saw that there was a crisis and they needed him.
Yeah.
And that's really, he put everything above everything else at that point in his life. So there's the change.
Joe M. Marginetti, I think one of the worst decisions that the author, director, whoever made the decision, the plot, the whole movie, is getting rid of Sonny much too early. Agree. What do you think, Gator?
James Caan was incredible. my only complaint is that he has a hairy back, and he should have shaved his back so we didn't have to look at all the fur on his back. But that's a minimal complaint. That's just me being silly. But James Caan steals every scene he's in. He's the most powerful, and he's not Italian. You know, he's Jewish.
That's our secret.
Yeah.
That's our secret.
And he was friends with wise guys in real life. He was very close to Persico.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Carmine Persico out of Brooklyn.
Yeah, there's a few in the film that are interesting. That are not Italian. Abe Vigoda is actually not Italian.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
That's right.
and of course Robert Duvall. But
yeah,
I was also looking at some of the people that were cast or wanted to be in the film. There's actually I don't know how true it is, but apparently Elvis Presley was an enormous fan of the book, and he auditioned for the role of Tom Hagen.
Come on.
That's the word. But that he really wanted to play Vito Corleone, which is even crazier.
His celebrity would have took too much away from the film.
Yeah. Burt Reynolds, you know, my favorite, was considered for Sonny Corleone, which I actually think at the time, if you remember the time that film was made, that's Deliverance, Burt Reynolds. And I think he probably would have done very well. But of course, James Caan he's the man.
We got a request for you to maybe do White Boy Rick. And like I said, depending on how well you review it, we may or may not have the author on just in case.
I actually saw it in the theaters when it came out, and I really don't remember it. I'd have to rewatch it, and yeah.
Nice.
Sure.
I believe James Caan, it was called The Jewish Cowboy in Sunnyside, Tough with His Hands. They wanted Robert Redford. Did you know that?
Yeah, Robert Redford was another one. Abe Vigoda, by the way, is Russian Jewish. That was the one I was on the tip of my tongue. Who were some of the other ones? Orson Welles lobbied to play. Yeah, he lobbied to play Vito.
Wasn't Orson Welles always old?
Exactly. Yeah, nobody knows him.
He's like what's the guy? The one actor,
like Wilford Brimley.
Yeah. Because he was always old. Like it's like I don't know. Like just I don't know. I think you're born. Some people are just born old.
Back to James Caan. There's one scene that I love of his where it's in the very beginning of the film when we first see him, and he goes out to get rid of the photographers, you know, and he grabs that one guy's camera and he throws it at the ground, and then he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out some money and just throws it at him. Apparently he did that on the spot. That was all James Caan. It wasn't in the script.
Wow.
Yeah, and he actually created that moment. And if I remember right, he wasn't even supposed to smash the camera. That was overkill.
Oh wow.
So he's incredible. I everything James Caan does to me is intense and worth looking at.
Well, let me ask you a question. So one of your I don't know if it was yours or I saw it, but Dave Chase, there's no improvising. It's just whatever the script is, right? As for your understanding, Coppola, is he a little more flexible?
I don't know. I haven't heard one way or the other. I know he was very proud of the book and the fact that Mario Puzo, not only wrote the book but wrote the screenplay with him. So I would imagine that because Puzo was right there with him alongside with the screenplay, that they were true to the story, the book. But I do know there are some improvised scenes in there. So, and particularly with James Caan. So, I think they had some room to play.
We won't give too much away because you're going to be recurring. I kind of like 3. Where'd you land on 3? The short answer.
I keep trying to like it.
JSV, what did you think of 3?
Yeah, I keep trying to like it. I've watched it a few times, and I think all the 3 times that I watched it, I think I had to stop and then go back to it. I just couldn't get through it the whole way in one sitting. Yeah,
I look forward to spending some time with you discussing it because it's there's an enormous amount wrong with it, in my opinion. There's an enormous amount boring about it, and there's a very little bit that's excellent about it, and that's that's a much longer discussion, unfortunately.
Yeah, supposedly Vito slapping Johnny Fontaine was an ad lib.
Yes, that too was an ad lib.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, there's several of those.
Thank you, Johnny. It's going through some. Let's see. Some people like the Coda. Did you watch a Coda version of 3?
I did.
What the hell was the difference? I paid $10 and I might as well burnt it.
I only knew the differences because I read about it before I went in. So I'd done the research, so I knew what to expect, but didn't help, in my opinion. The one thing I did walk away from Coda knowing and feeling, I felt a lot of sympathy for Sofia Coppola,
Yeah,
who I think got a bad rap. And
no, she's terrible.
You're
my guy, but I can't lay you off the hook on that one.
Well, what I will say is, as bad as she was, that I think that's her father's fault for throwing her into the lions like that. That was a bad choice. He was supposed to have, I think it was Winona Ryder was supposed to play it.
Winona Ryder, she was too busy shoplifting.
Yeah, well, something happened. I think she might have gotten an accident on a horse or something. I can't remember exactly why, but Winona Ryder had the part. She ultimately ended up working with Coppola in Dracula, but she was supposed to be in Godfather 3, and he filled in with his daughter there, and she got a terrible. I mean, it must have been so hard for her. I sympathize. I mean, she was thrown to the wolves, literally, and the fact of the matter is her father's fault for that happening. He should have never done that to her. If she was not prepared for what was coming. I mean, thankfully, she's turned out to be a fantastic director. But, Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Right? Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah, she was in Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Making
Winona
sure.
Ryder.
Otherwise, I would have inserted foot in mouth. Wait. First of all, Vinny's on his way to my house without getting into an accident or hurting yourself. Get in here because you're giving us so many facts that you and Gator could piece together, and I can learn so much more about The Godfather. But here's what I'm blown away. The wedding was filmed that night with floodlights?
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. That's crazy, right?
You cannot. That looked like a perfect blue sky.
The lighting in The Godfather overall is magnificent. I mean, just from
what do you mean it was dark?
Well,
lights off the whole time.
So many scenes are lit to the point where you just see the person and everything around them is black, and that's intentional, and it's amazing. There are some scenes where they walk into the house and it's all dark, and then they'll walk into a room where there's just a lamp, and that lamp is the only light in the room, and it just feels like an Italian house. It feels like
that's true.
Feels like your grandmother's house when you went, and all they had was like one lamp in a room.
So what about, because they don't want to pay the electrical bill, and God forbid he touch the heat, man. Woo! One time I put from 74 to 70, my ass still hurts. That was 25 years ago.
I got the cheese board. You ever get the cheese board on the ass?
I got the cheese board, the slammer. I get everything, every pinching of the cheese.
I got whatever was in my mother's hand.
Whatever
was in her hand.
I want people to drop below, and it could be any ethnicity, but if you're Italian American, what did you get hit on or hit with growing up? The book, the best was my mother with the slippers. I don't know why she didn't play NFL. Like, I'd be like down the street.
Get her a contract. Sign her up.
You ain't kidding. All right. Godfather trivia. And Ryan is a friend of the show. I spoke to him earlier. And what day is Vito Corleone's birthday?
Oh boy.
I'm gonna
guess. I'm gonna guess, and
I'm gonna Google it.
I'm gonna guess it's like George Steinbrenner, the 4th of July. That's my guess.
Hold on. If anybody wants to guess in the comments below, Googling it as we speak. I'm looking up a fictitious actor's birthday.
There's a lot of wooden spoons in the comments. I guess that's a common
Boom.
thing to get whacked with too.
And it would break.
Gunsmoke
Get
Don. Gunsmoke. You want me to drop you a link? Because Gunsmoke is a guy that makes these really cool videos, makes fun of people, including me. But he knows his stuff. He knows like every line to every movie. So Gunsmoke, if you need to drop us a line, Gator's a good dude. Oh, by the way, again, just a friendly reminder, Gator McCluskey, I put a link earlier. I'm going to put another link. Let's get him to 2,000 subs. A great dude. He's going to be coming around often, so get used to him, whether you like it or not. But the truth is, you don't like him because he knows his shit. Let me see. Okay. What's up, boys? Bay 8th, good man. We'll see you a little later. Vito Andolini. Chiste per te. That's what I love. My favorite part. Hate Robert D as far as political. Listen, you know what? I'm so conflicted, and whether I agree with him or not, and we don't get political, but it's like I kind of feel sometimes when actors are like super activists. I always say this: I will respect their right for their opinion, and anybody else. You know what I mean? But I don't know. So I think Robert D is losing a lot of people. I'm not saying you got to agree with him. I'm not saying you got to disagree with him. I'm just saying because I don't want to get beat up in the comments. I know a lot of people are turned off by that, but we'll leave that alone. All right. On my way to the ferry, good. I gotta say, I would never pick a guy that looks like Gator as a Godfather fan.
Oh, what are you talking about? Come on, over here now.
That's why I like him, and I got a good follow-up question for him in a second. Bay 8th was a wooden spoon. Joseph, wooden spoon and slippers. Yeah, like just literally. And I don't know if you guys had it. My mother like it was weird. Like there'd be a guy who'd come to the house and he would like sell brooms. Like imagine somebody coming. I got brooms. Anyway, but also sell his slippers. And they were like clogs and they were wooden and they hurt a lot. Carlos, what do you got? Anything in sight? Shoes, ashtrays, and books. Those ashtrays were glass and they were fucking heavy. I don't care what anybody says.
I would crack a skull for sure.
My grandmother always kept the heat off and used to whack me upside the head with a spoon, and then she used to cook with sauce. I'm not surprised. And you're like, oh, what's that? No, but you never found a hair, though. That's a weird thing. It got like emulsified or something, you know? Okay. Oh, you said July 4th on the date? That is incorrect. December 7th, 1891.
Oh, look at
that. Brian, that's a good one. If you got any more, we'd love to take a crack at it. Andrew, wooden spoon with my ma, although I'm not Italian. There you go. Raging bull. Or ragging bull. They want to pull it out of us. Let me see. Whatever's close to my mother. Belts, pots, knives, etc.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever was in vicinity. But what was weird was when something happened, they always found a way to hit you with something good. It never was like a roll of bread or like a rolled up sock. You know, it was on hand and it just came like out of nowhere. Gunsmoke, don't have to answer. Gunsmoke would know. Let me see. LOL, thank you. I just got home. I'm eating dinner. I'm just enjoying the show right now. Bon appetito. Enjoy. Feel free to jump in with any comments while you're chowing down. I'd love to join your show sometime or anytime. We'd love to have you on. Let me see. I like a lot of people, but not their politics. De Niro. Like I said, we're going to shy away from it. That's a whole nother discussion. We'll be here probably a lot longer than we need to. Wooden spoon if you're lucky. My mother used to stab my hand with a fork. And if I went to dip my bread in the gravy before anyone sat down, I probably got some. I could not like I probably got a little, cursory kind of stab. You know?
My mother would get mad if I put my hands up to block her hitting me. like she would yell for me to put my hands down. And one time she lied, saying that
I'm not gonna hit you.
I know. I put my hands up, and she was so mad at me. She yelled to my father to say he raised his hands at me. My father came after me. My father was more of a level-headed person to realize that I was blocking myself from getting hit.
Oh
So,
my god!
I got myself out of that one, but
I don't mean drawing blood, but she was dangerous. No, they knew like not to draw blood, but they knew to hurt you.
yeah, and you didn't go to school with marks that they could see. It's
Yeah.
always
Yeah. I don't know, Tom, but a crusty baguette might not feel so good. Now, Gator, you have children, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We all have children, and we all raise them the best we can. And I think our generation is even better fathers because it's different generation, right? I never smacked my kids.
Yeah.
Not even a coolie slap. I'm scared too. I don't end up I'm like scared. I don't even yell that much. I yell at him, he yells at me, but like I don't yell at them that much. I guess it's just different parenting style. So Gator, all right. Now again, part of the reason why I wanted Gator to come on, not just for being a great guy, but you also get deep, right? Let's appeal to the geeky side of you, right? The geeky side of you. What part really stood out, or what part of the art, the story, the movie, the cinematography, and the geeky side that that Coppola nailed?
So the final sequence in the church is a cinematic masterpiece. The way that Sonny is there, and you're hearing the music, and they're cutting back and forth to all of the kills, and how he wraps up everything right there. My understanding is the first time that was cut, it wasn't what it was. And then the editor went back and redid it. And what it ended up as is probably, I talk about the restaurant scene, but the church scene, the baptism is, the christening or whatever is so.
Michael, do you announce Satan?
Yeah, it's so incredibly violent.
Hold on, Gator. You need to get this, or you're in trouble. I'll put you in timeout. Do you know who the baby was?
Do I know who the baby was?
Sofia Coppola.
The baby was really.
Yep.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yep.
It's funny too, because when I was looking up I looked up and saw that she was in The Godfather, and I didn't even give it a second thought. I was like, oh, she was in The Godfather. I'm like,
that early.
That was her. Wow.
She did a better job in 1 than 3.
Oh boy.
Let's get that thread going.
Oh boy.
Tom,
I don't know why I have a soft.
I do have a son.
I don't know why I have such a soft spot for her. Maybe it's because I have a daughter. And I really do feel for the difficult life she must have had after that. Was she's surrounded with money. How difficult could her life be, right? But
I think they own like wineries and stuff. So I don't.
Yeah.
Now the other part, I didn't know this. Talia Shire, which is Coppola. I think it's Coppola's sister. I don't know.
sister or niece. Maybe sister.
Blah blah. Carmen Coppola, blah blah. Wait, no, the sister.
That is his sister.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that till like recently.
Yeah.
I did not know that till recently. Like I'm talking like very recently.
She got snubbed. I thought that her performance was incredible. From the Oscars, she should have gotten a supporting actress nomination. I mean, the scene with her and Carlo, when Carlo chases after her and she's smashing the dishes, and that whole sequence is incredible. It's just some of the greatest acting I've seen. She should have gotten nominated, I think, more so than Diane Keaton.
Good point. Good point.
She did get nominated for the second one and for Rocky, of course.
Yeah.
But never won. So
you can't win.
No.
Gunsmoke. Sofia Coppola was hot in part 3. She did a great job directing in Marie Antoinette. Yeah, because she's on the right side of the camera. All right. So Gunsmoke, throw us a moderate question, because you're like the expert Those are moderate ones. Don't embarrass us on a live here, you know? Gunsmoke to Don, I don't know or hurt the baby. I wanted to answer that as well. Too slow, damn it. Yeah, they get really competitive, these guys. Okay, so we talked about the geeky side of you, right? Now the good old-fashioned New York Italian side. What part got, aside from the shooting part, what part got your blood going?
Oh, good question. Well, I mean, action usually gets my blood going, but some of the confrontations get my blood going. I mean, it's really just the anticipation of something happening. When Michael is in the car traveling to the restaurant, and they're still not exactly sure where the restaurant is, and Michael thinks they're going in a different direction, and then the car spins around on the bridge, and that there's so much intensity in those scenes. And all through seeing it so many years, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm still sitting on the edge of my seat, even though I know what's going to happen. And that just shows you how great a film that is, that those are the intense scenes, that the ones that are not actually the violent scenes. It's the anticipation of the violence.
You know what? Lexi Johnson and Gunsmoke to Don make a great point. Me too, Lexi, 1 and 2 forever. I make it a tradition to watch it every Thanksgiving. I don't know about you guys. It could be wrong.
It's on every Thanksgiving.
But I watch it every Thanksgiving, and I'll play it on every Christmas when I was younger. And it wasn't a holiday unless it was played.
No, but it's on this part of the season, or this part of the year, rather. It's on all the time. Throughout November, December, January. I don't know.
Don't they do like a USA does like a 24 hours or whatever?
It's either USA or what's the other one? Mad Men were on that channel.
Oh,
yeah, but you can't watch it on regular television. There's too much in there that that causes stuff to get cut out. I'd have to.
And you can't be breaking for commercials either.
That's true too. Yeah.
So I do have a Gianni Russo story. I was in Nello's.
Trust me, he has them all.
I was in Nello's, and for those that watch the show, I wouldn't not gonna give the guy's name. I'm not gonna give it who was associated with, but a good friend of mine at the time. We wound up having dinner with a maid guy and his gumad at Nello's. Thank God I didn't pick up dinner because I could not afford it. So I go to the bathroom. Gianni Russo sitting there.
Sitting there? You go to the bathroom. He said, what is he, the cologne guy?
He's sitting there eating dinner, right? And the way
I go to the bathroom, he's sitting there.
He's sitting there eating while I go to the bathroom. And no, he did not hold it for me. I did ask. So I said, holy cow, it's Carlo. He goes, you know what, kid? That movie's been out 35 years and everybody stops me every day. I really appreciate it.
Because that's every interview. That's all he talks about. Plus all his other crazy stories.
All right, you know what? Gator's like a normal guy. Even though his shirt's a little out there, but I love it.
You're the only person that's ever said that, by the way.
No, but watch, right? So we do this channel. We kind of lean towards a mob genre, the mob movies and mobster stuff, right? Gianni Russo was reasonably a normal guy throughout his career. He goes on Vlad TV and talks about how the mob blew the doors off of Paramount Studio. And it never happened.
No, he says all his interviews are outlandish.
Yeah,
hey, I'm not saying they aren't true, but this guy's lived 100 lives and he's got 100 stories in him. I mean, Gabe, have you ever seen an interview with him?
No.
Oh, you got to YouTube an interview with him.
That's why I figured, right? So if you go to his recent stuff, Vlad TV and others, he was a maid guy. He blew up the doors off of Paramount Studio. I think he killed Hoffa. He definitely killed Kennedy. So the guy is nuts, right? Even to the point when there was a mobster in 2015, Frank Cali got killed. Gambino, a quiet guy, got killed. It wasn't a mob hit. It was some weirdo who killed him because he didn't want him dating his niece. And the mobster didn't want the guy dating his niece. He got upset. He killed him. Gianni Russo comes out and goes, well, that's not a mob hit because we don't kill people in front of houses, family houses. Number one, I can tell you 20 hits that happened in family houses. Patrick Borriello and other ones. And number two, that's not true. Patrick's the son. Sorry, because Patrick's a good guy. I meant Bobby. So I got him picked up. I was watching him on camera before. He's a good actor too. So all due respect for the mix-up. But with that being said, though, is you're just full of shit, dude. You know. So like, what do you know about him as an actor? Like, we have the off the rails, you know, like guy who's out there, but like he was a normal dude for a while. So like, you know, what do you know about him as an actor? And because I like, he's a weird dude.
Honestly, nothing. I can't. I gotta say. I mean, I just don't know of anything. I mean, he sounds like the Italian Gary Busey or something. I mean, the guy just, you know, he must have hit his head or something, right?
That was good.
You know,
That was good.
I do not know what to say about that.
That was good.
I'll tell you, the guy I feel sorry for is John Cazale.
What is that?
Fredo.
Oh yeah, he died of a heart attack, right?
Yeah. But you're talking about a guy who was in consecutive Best Pictures. So he was in The Godfather.
And Dog Day Afternoon, right?
Godfather 2. He was in The Conversation.
Okay.
Dog Day Afternoon, and The Deer Hunter was his final film, and he died before that came out. And all 5 of those films were nominated for Best Picture, and they didn't all win, but that's a pretty incredible feat. There's a great documentary about him. You know, sad to see him go so early because they loved him. That he was so loved.
He was a great actor, no?
Fantastic.
Was he Italian?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh wow. It's about Johnny Russo. It's funny how everyone he talks of is dead. Just Gator, when you get a chance.
I will,
man. I know you're a busy guy. When you get a moment, just on Vlad TV. And there's many. No, actually,
he was kidnapped by the cartel. Oh my God! It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I have to put a link in the description.
He went on Value Entertainment, which is another big show, 3 million subs. And yeah, it's pretty rough. I used to see Johnny Russo every year at the feast sitting in a Godfather booth in the shirt half button. Could smell the cologne a mile away. Very nice guy, though. Guy writes Pocket Rabone. Did you have that? I think you were too young for that, Pocket Rabone, no?
Pocket Ramon.
Pocket Rabone. Do you remember Pocket Rabone, the cologne?
I do. I don't
That, the car, chaps.
Dracar Noir.
Us old guys, drop your favorite colognes below. I was a Dracar guy. I thought it was so cool having that.
I
thought it was so cool having
my wife liked me to wear Obsession. That was the one that I.
That was a new school one back then.
Yeah.
It didn't last long though.
No.
Meaning like I would have it in that bottle because I used to. I don't know, had the little brown top, right, or the brown.
Yep. Glass, brown liquid and glass with a brown top.
And I put it on, and it would last like an hour. So I'd put a lot on to overcompensate, and I would smell like a you know what, but it just it didn't last as long for me. Paul Sebastian, that's another good one. Paul Sebastian. Did you ever hear that, Gator? That was one that Father Time. I love Deer Hunter too, but that roulette scene pissed me off. Every time I wanted to jump through the screen and kill him. Polo was a good one. That was
I wore Polo.
Model, that's right.
Not the ones that came out, the black, the blue, the green bottle. That's the old one.
And what did we get Dad for Christmas and Father's Day? We got him Brute by Fabergé.
That's right. That is right.
Because it was cheap.
Oh no, Father Time. Johnny Russo also slept with Marilyn Monroe.
Yes, we said Marilyn Monroe.
Oh my God.
Here's one story. He really did kill a guy in his restaurant, didn't he? Yeah, he got hostage. He got taken hostage by
he said
he met Escobar.
He says he met Pablo Escobar.
He met Pablo Escobar because he killed one of his guys in his restaurant.
Oh man.
And then it was one of Pablo Escobar's guys, and Pablo sent for him.
I'm hurting. My internal organs hurt. You're joking, right?
No, it's on Vlad. Yes, he sent.
Gator, we need to get him on.
He killed one of his guys
We-
in his restaurant, and Pablo sent.
You know what? Like,
and Pablo understood why. He's like, "Oh, that makes sense, Johnny. Okay, get out of here."
I have a policy because I want to have great content and I want to be above board. I don't like to pay guests. Jason and I will dig in our pockets. We're paying for Gianni Russo. So if anybody knows him, send it to him. Name your price because we need to break bread with him or sit with him and talk with him.
Got to start a GoFundMe page.
Yeah, I think Johnny Russo lived a glamorous life.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm sure he had a lot of connections. Just sometimes I guess because he's an entertainer, if he's 2 degrees away from a story, he'll tell the story as if it was his. He wanted maybe one of those people like he was around and he saw this, he saw that, he knew a guy and kind of makes it his own kind of. Because if all those stories are true, man, whew.
Oh my God!
A lot of these guys embellish as they get older. I'm working on this Burt Reynolds documentary, and as I research his life, I see stories that they change a little through the years, and they definitely become more inflated, and that I think comes with age.
Yeah,
it comes with maybe a little bit of alcohol and drugs through the years, and losing of some memory, and you fill in the blanks sometimes, and it's an interesting reveal when you find the truth.
So Clubman, remember that? that was a good one. Deer Hunter was amazing, great movie, but no Godfather. Mayo, what's that from? I don't know. Aspen. Oh, Aspen for Men. That was another one. A little before your time.
I don't know.
He's too young, this guy, to get these references. He's too young. Gunsmoke, I want to slap the guy in the back with it so bad. I think that was Johnny Russo killed the guy supposedly self-defense.
Yeah.
The judge told him the next time it happened.
Don't do it again. Get out of here, kid.
Oh my God, you can't make this up. Gator, where do you think Raging Bull stands?
It's another masterpiece, flawless movie. Raging Bull is another one that I'll watch at least once a year. I'm a big boxing fan, so a lot of people don't even consider it a boxing movie, but those same people don't consider Rocky a boxing movie. So, or a sports movie, I should say. More so, they don't consider it a sports movie. Like you say, the greatest sports movies of all time. Nobody says Raging Bull, Rocky. Why? Because it doesn't have a ball in it, and a bat. But to me, Rocky and Raging Bull are right there at the top. You can't touch those 2 movies as far as, what they have done for, one for boxing and one, and the other one for really just it's Robert De Niro is probably definitely his greatest role for sure.
Wow. What question do you have, Jay?
No, Raging Bull, black and white. Did you like that touch on them doing it in black and white? I mean,
oh yeah,
it was done during color, right? So
oh yeah. Well, I was a huge fan of Young Frankenstein's one of my favorite movies, and certain movies were done in black and white, and you can't even imagine them another way, and Raging Bull to me. It's funny when I was watching The Godfather last night again. The very first blood that you see in the film with when Vito gets shot outside when he's picking through the fruit, and he gets shot and he hits the car and he slides to the ground. The blood looks like ketchup. It looks terrible. It's like really, really bad. But when Sonny gets killed, the blood looks fantastic. And that scene was reminiscent of, I don't know if you ever saw Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
But the end of Bonnie and Clyde, that scene with James Caan was inspired by, they say that was how they wanted it to be, like that violent. And Raging Bull, the blood, it didn't matter what color it was, right?
Yeah, true. So who's the guy who looks like John Travolta? His name is Gator McCluskey. We're going to put a link below. He does movie reviews. He was on episode 2, talked about the many states of Newark. Now jumped on again, talked about Godfather, colognes, and what we're hit with as kids.
I wasn't prepared for the cologne stuff, by the way.
So exactly. So the good news is, it'll be a recurring guest. There are a few more questions. We'll get the final wrap up, and we'll have a little fun with it. Ali Chabar, how are you, buddy? Welcome to the Armchair MBA. Again, Gator McCluskey will put his link below. Great review channel. Like I said, what I like about him is he's like kind of a New York guy, New York twist, but he's a little like academic about it in a way. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah, I'm a geek, but I'm also I try to be funny, man. I mean, I always tell people, if you watch anything on my other channel, I do the top 10 worst sequels of all time. And people say to me, why don't you do the top 10 best? And I say, because that's not funny. I go, I want to talk about the top 10 worst sequels of all time. And if you watch that, that's the definitive me, because I just have so much fun with it. And I laughed so much doing it that and I hope that comes through in watching it, and how I make fun of these films, and launch basically a tirade into my hatred of these movies and how they ruined great movies, and I'm clear when I open the thing up that, I'm not talking about sequels like Trolls 2, for example, which the first one was a piece of shit. Why are we even talking about Trolls 2? I'm talking about a movie like, honestly, I'm going to blow my number one. It's Godfather 3.
Yeah.
If you watch my worst sequels of all time, Godfather 3 is the number one worst sequel of all time. Mainly because it took a series that was iconic and perfect, and it ruined it. It came to a screeching halt.
I was going to say, Rocky is a movie of inspiration. I agree. Now, shout out to John Wolfe. So Gator, I don't know if you had a point. You got Trolls yet or not yet?
What's that?
Trolls, meaning guys that come to your channel, they troll your channel.
Oh, no, I was talking about a movie called
Trolls. No, I understand that. What I'm saying
do I have Trolls?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, man, I'm so lucky. I've got this great fan base that, I've gotten very little of that. I see it going on, and I know it's coming.
They will come. So anyway, John Wolfe has a little bit of a troll channel, but he's very funny. And I actually liked when he made fun of me. It's one of those weird, like, I don't know what it is. Not that I don't have a thick skin. I just don't really care, if that makes sense. So he has a channel that kind of made fun of me and dinged me a few times, but I kind of like the guy. It's weird. So anyway, Jimmy Calandra, he's an ex-mob guy. Reminds you of De Niro Raging Bull when he's sitting in the mirror. I could see that. I know you said earlier about what were the years of The Godfather spanned.
Yeah, so you had said that what year Vito was born, but the Godfather 2's flashbacks go back to 1917. So when you see Robert De Niro in Godfather 2, that's like 1917 to 1923. And then the main part of The Godfather takes place between 1941 and 1960.
And then when he was sitting in the room singing, and he was in the
But that was supposed to be
1909, 1901, 1909.
No, 1901. I'll tell you why. I believe the complete epic has the dates on it. As a complete epic Gunsmoke. What year? 1902 to 1959. That's it. That's it. 1902 to 9. In terms of the first and the second, the whole was 1959.
Yeah.
So I may be cheating a little bit using the complete epic. Once Upon a Time in America. I never really watched that.
I watched it twice. It's a long
Great.
too. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Now, is it true?
James Wood, right? De Niro. You ever see that Gator?
Yeah, it's on my my repeat viewing.
That's a long one, 3 hours, something like that.
Yeah, longer, probably closer to 4, but it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Interesting.
Jewish mobsters, if I remember.
Jewish mobster, yep.
Right.
Somebody said that it was really supposed to be about the Italian mob, but these Jewish mobsters not to offend the Italian population. But I don't believe that. I don't think that's true, right, Gator? Probably not, right, Gator?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So oranges in Godfather indicate death was about to happen. Did you ever hear that?
No, but it makes sense.
Interesting.
That's actually an interesting thing about The Godfather. There's not too many movies that kill off the main character with still like a half hour left to go in the movie, you know.
Agreed.
But the point at which he has his incident and hits the ground, there's still a good 25-30 minutes left in the film.
All right, Don Vito, how are you? Andrew White, I was thinking 43 to 70s. No, it was way before that. Remember only on TV, The Godfather, they catch Fabrizio and they kill him for Mikey wife? I don't know what that is. Remember, let me just see. A lot of comments coming through. Yes, please make a video out of that clip. You're a good guy. You and Gunsmoke should get together and do some stuff. Vito's birthday is on Pearl Harbor Day.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Interesting.
I wasn't sure if that was D-Day or Pearl Harbor.
No, that's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
That's Pearl Harbor. But Carlo Borsini. Let me just see. There are no liberal mob guys, Republican 100%. Here's what's interesting. That's something really political. I've interviewed a lot of different guys from the life over the years, or chatted with guys from the life. Historically, the mob was very democratic, believe it or not. There's a reason for it. Well, theoretically reason. They would be like inner cities, or there'd be areas that construction contracts and that kind of stuff. And supposedly or allegedly, the Democrats were easier to bribe. The second reason is because of their bleeding hearts, they also tend to give lesser sentences and be more amiable towards lesser bids, let people out and so forth. Like in New York, if you were under Mayor Cuomo, he helped reduce sentences. When Pataki came, he reinstated certain laws and people left more in jail. But now, for whatever reason, they tend Republican. I just find that interesting. Oranges are everywhere. I never seen Godfather 2 or 3. Yikes.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Just watch 2.
John, you got to watch 2, please. They didn't know it was Pop's birthday. That was one of the best lines. That was There's actually a video on YouTube about the significance of the oranges in The Godfather. Interesting stuff. That's when you have a lot of reason. Not knocking Lexi, because you're a great dude. It's actually a guy, by the way. But that would be like a tertiary thing for me. Like, I was like, oh, let me read out The Godfather. What are the actors up to? Oh, what about those oranges? But I love that.
The rabbit hole continues.
Yeah, exactly. They need to watch it ASAP. The guy who played Clemenza Godfather was Paul Castellano's nephew in real life. Oh, shit. I knew the name was Castellano, but I didn't know they were related. He died young too, right, Clemenza, in real life? I think so.
Let me see.
I think so.
Yeah, he was 55. He died in 1988.
Heart attack, I think, right? Have you ever seen Godfather 1, the guy that runs away from the wife, blowing her up? Godfather 1 came on TV, but I think 88, but they get revenge only on TV?
Never seen it.
Was there the guy's handle is pounding that pink veal. So I'm just gonna assume he's a butcher.
Yeah.
Just assume he's a butcher gator. If you can elaborate on that, I'd be interested. We're gonna wrap up soon, but the interesting one. And Ennio Morricone, Once Upon a Time in America, Deborah Theme, best music for real. Give it a listen. It's not in the very DVD. Oh wow! So I guess there was a made-for-TV version of Godfather. That's something new every day.
Yeah, I mean that was really the epic. No, I mean that was the complete epic.
Oh, true.
It started out as that, and then basically it was how NBC wanted to purchase it. In 1977, I think it was, they recut it and made a special version for television entitled The Godfather Saga, and they basically released Godfather 1 and 2 together, adding deleted scenes, and most of those deleted scenes are included separately on the DVD, but if you can catch the epic, it's all wrapped into the film.
Interesting. Have you ever seen What Doesn't Kill You, Boston Mob movie, Mark Ruffalo, Ethan Hawke, Goodman, true story? Never seen it.
What doesn't kill you?
Yeah, we got to check it out.
Mob?
Yeah.
Oh, Mark Ruffalo. I like that. Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
John Goodman.
I guess so.
What doesn't kill you?
Yeah.
What year did that come
Clemens
out?
died in like 1988. Gunsmoke, you're right. So close to that. Guy writes a knob butcher.
What?
A knob butcher. I can't. I'm going to have to sit there and watch it one night, please. Got that name for the movie Casino.
Hey, Tom, I got one other thing I wanted to
please
talk to you about was, do you remember when we were talking about the Many Saints in Newark and we were talking about the guy that played Silvio and how, he was overly exaggerated, right? And we thought it was too much so that you would, over the course of your life, you would become more animated with your tics and your
yes.
Right? So if you look at De Niro's performance as a young Vito, that's done right, because he doesn't have all of those, with everything that Marlon Brando does in The Godfather.
Yes.
Vito really tones that down, and you see a little bit of it, and that's rich. That's how it's supposed to be done. Brando wanted. There's a quote where he said he wanted Don Corleone to look like a bulldog, so he stuffed his cheeks with cotton wool for the audition, and and they had a mouthpiece made by a dentist, and it was like nothing. It was all Brando,
Where did he ever say in an interview, or was it ever written about where he got that from? Did he know somebody? Was there somebody in the life that a friend of a friend? What made him do that talk?
It's funny because he apparently he was just trying to be. Brando's always been very eccentric and very, original in everything he does. But apparently they had to do a lot of looping, which is when they have to go in afterwards and like redo their dialogue, because his mouth was so stuffed with this stuff that nobody could understand what he was saying. So one of the things I noticed watching it last night for the millionth time was that a lot of his dialogue you can tell is off, because he's basically had to go back in a studio and talk it out in front of a microphone, redo it, because nobody could understand him. But that was all him. I don't know what inspired him to do that.
Because I've heard even James Gandolfini in Sopranos and guys in other movies. I think what the one with Johnny Depp. Come on,
Donnie Brasco.
Okay. Guys have said, they knew guys either in the life or associated, and they took mannerisms and their way of talking, walking, the way with the hands, this and that, So I was just wondering if Brando did that, because that is so out of left field, right? Like, let me take cotton balls, shove them in the back of my throat, and this is and it did.
Well, the quote where he says it, he wanted to look like a bulldog. I mean, that right. Powerful man. I mean, what's more powerful looking than a bulldog, or menacing looking.
But then as a director, like, how do you not say, well, but when we're having De Niro as your younger version, the guy is chiseled on the chin, right? You know what I mean?
Well, that decision was made afterwards, of course. So, when they made The Godfather, I don't know if they knew they were even going to get to make The Godfather Part 2.
Right. Okay.
It wasn't red lit because nobody knew if this movie, it was so over budget, and they had to cut corners to even get things shot for the money. But it made its money and it won awards. And of course they rushed and got the second one going.
So somebody wrote, Gator McCluskey sounds like a good NCAA commentary name. I love it. Hold on. Gator McCluskey can be also a good name for a mayor of a southern Louisiana town.
I've been called worse.
Instead of making that horrible movie, Many Saints in Newark, they should have done a Cleaver movie instead.
Oh, right.
That would have been, that actually would have been funny.
Somebody needs to do that.
Awesome. Let's see. A lot of comments coming in. Yeah, Brando got it from John Lee. All right. Do it here, you said.
I'll do it here.
Yeah. Give it there.
Gator, pleasure meeting you. I got to run on a phone call.
He's a busy
Thank you.
guy.
Appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
All right, guys.
We're almost
Cheers.
wrapping up. So wrap it up. So any other questions or comments, get them in before you wrap up. Gator McCluskey can even be a good professional wrestling name. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, so Jason's name is Mohawk because he's the only guy I know over the age of 35 that has a Mohawk. So the Mohawk has its own personality, and the Mohawk will eventually have its own YouTube channel.
Nice. Sign me up.
Public Enemies of Johnny Depp. That wasn't bad. That actually wasn't bad. I would rather look like a hyena than a bulldog. Not a bad idea. Those hyenas have such a nasty bite. That's too funny. Let me see. Yeah, Public Enemy wasn't bad. Did you see it? Well,
Yeah, not a big fan. I don't like Johnny Depp a whole lot, other than when he's got a pirate outfit on.
yeah.
You know, I didn't like Johnny Brasco. I thought I couldn't buy him as an Italian at all.
Wow. A lot of people didn't like him in that role. What about
and I hated seeing Pacino so weak, you know. I mean, I mean, he's a great actor, of course, but it was just, you know, when I remember going to see it and I was like, that's Pacino. I'm like, I can't buy him. Like, he's the man, you know. It's like John Wayne. He's the John Wayne of Italians, right?
Yep.
Would you want to go see John Wayne be this, you know, weak, sniffling, pathetic, whatever? Yep. You wouldn't want to see that movie, and I didn't want to see my Al Pacino, Michael Corleone being that weak.
Well, I don't know if you saw it. I had Ramona Rizzo, who's his granddaughter, Lefty Guns, and she kind of went through like the real deal of who he was. She like the movie was like way off, way
really
off. Yeah, like the son got killed another way. She got killed in I think he was in a mob hit that wasn't directed towards him. He not as much of a drug user. He was a very stylish guy. He was not a brokester. He was not a broken down guy. Like a little bit more polished. The lion part is true. The lion is true. You know.
Wow.
So, but anyway, with that being said, Gator McCluskey came on again. Threw him to the wolf den here. Talked a little bit about Godfather 1. I threw in some business lessons. One of my biggest business lessons is, you know, you always feel like, oh, give him an offer, can't refuse, and all that kind of crap, right? But the truth of the matter is, you got to offer something of value, and then you have to ask, and that's how favors are built. And that was like kind of one of my big takes away from GF1. So why don't you give your final wrap up on GF1 and how these guys can find you, as well as I'll put a link below.
Yeah, so Godfather 1 to me is probably the greatest film of all time. A lot of people say Godfather 2 is the better film, but to me, Godfather 1 is a perfect film. You know, it really started a trend. The most amazing thing I came away from watching it again last night was how Hollywood hasn't really taken notice of a film like that and tried to use it as a blueprint to make other films.
Yeah.
It's like, it's right in front of you. It's on everyone's list somewhere right at the top of the greatest films of all time, but you refuse to make more films like this. And it really is unfortunate that they don't make more films like this, because it's just the greatest, you know. And it was probably a perfect storm. You had the greatest book, you had the greatest director, you had all these great actors, you know, everything came together perfectly, and that's not easy to do. But if you try and you put together the right cast and you put together all the right people and you pay the money, you know, to hire the right people, you know, you can recreate some great stories like that. And there's an audience waiting for more, you know, more material like that. So my channel is Gator McCluskey Reviews. I've been doing it since COVID started. I started it when once I was locked down and I couldn't figure out what else to do with myself. I started out just doing movie reviews, but then I also started doing these little documentaries and comedy bits, and there's some music on there, and a lot of other stuff. It's interesting. It's all mostly wrapped around movies and my love for classic films and classic actors. I'm not a big fan of modern films. I come from the age of the 70s and 80s where I think they made the best movies and they had, the greatest performances. There's an occasional film that comes out in modern day that I like, but not a lot. You'll notice, I did reviews of the movie Dune and the latest Venom movie and all these things. And most of them I really don't have a whole lot of love for. Technically they're great, but they just don't make films like they used to. Sure. And that's kind of where my channel's at. You can see the generational split where maybe younger people are not necessarily going to love my content because I'm going to spend time on Dog Day Afternoon and, and movies like Young Frankenstein that, I loved, as a kid, growing up. So that's what I focus on and what I'll continue to do.
Awesome. God bless. And then, how'd you get the name Gator?
Burt Reynolds is my favorite, man. So I took it as a character that he played twice in 2 movies that not a lot of people know about. Everybody knows him as the Bandit, and they know him as, in Deliverance and a few other things. And but Gator was probably the first movie I saw of his, a double feature with Smokey and the Bandit. And my dad took me to the drive-in, and I just thought Gator McCluskey was the coolest cat, man. So it's kind of always been in the back of my head. And I'm not going to tell you my real name, but I don't like my real name that much. I think this is a cooler name. And if you don't agree, well,
that's it. Go pound the shirt and the hat works. So this is the Armchair MBA. I'm going to ask you politely and kindly and respectfully, click the link below to check out Gator McCluskey. Hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button, turn on all notifications. Gator McCluskey, thank you so much for being on the Armchair MBA. And everybody, I want to thank you. The comments were respectful. They were good. They were funny. And again, thank you for being on the Armchair MBA.
Thanks, Tom.